Batrep! Matthew here from MiniWargaming.com, and we're bringing you the first episode of a new series that I call Beat Matthew and Win $25. The rules are simple. I've posted up on the forums a challenge where people can come in and say they want to play against me. The army has to be fully painted, and I get to choose a scenario and the objectives and everything else like that. And if you win, you get $25 in points. And if you lose or draw, you only get $10 in points. For our first match, it's going to be me, of course, versus Andrew back there, known as Dragon on the forums. He is going to be playing as Deathwing against my Tyranids, and it's going to be a total of 1750 points. Let's take a look at the armies and the objectives. On this side, we have 1750 points in Tyranids. Leading the charge will be 2 Tervagons, and these are custom made. I just use Carnifex kits and a lot of green stuff. So 1 Tervagon, 2 Tervagons, and a Hive Tyrant. And then bolstering the force will be a group of Termagants, 2 groups of Hormagants, and a group of Gene Stealers with a Broodlord upgrade. And in heavy support, we have 2 Trigons, one of the GW kits, and one that I custom made before there was a GW kit. So this is made with a Carnifex kit and some other parts as well. Over here we have 1750 points of Deathwing. We've got 3 Dreadnoughts, with the front one being a Venerable Dreadnought. We've got 3 groups of Terminators, this being the command squad, and they're all kitted out with different things. They all count as troop choices. And we have 1 Land Raider Crusader. And we have a Chaplain. As this will be an objective-based game, it will be important for the 3 groups of troops to grab objectives and the rest of the guys to contest the other objectives.
We decided to do an objective-based scenario, so we already rolled. Ends up going to have 5 objectives. We're just placing them right now in this time lapse that you're watching right now. Andrew's able to place first. What I was hoping to do was to put all the objectives close to my side, and you can see I only managed to get 2 of them there. Because my strategy will be pretty simple in that I'm just going to sit on 2 of mine and run up and try to contest the other ones. Because when you're playing against a Deathwing army where there's only 3 groups of Terminators, really you have the flexibility of being in more places than one, whereas he has to really try to kill everything in order to win the game. So here we're doing our deployment and just kind of position everything. I have my Tervagon, who's a troop choice, on the right-hand side. He's going to hug one of the objectives, and the Tervagon, who's an HQ, is going to be on the left side. We're going to be getting right into explaining the scenario in just a moment, but you can see that Andrew mostly is off the board. One of his groups of Terminators is in the Land Raider, and the other 2 are ready to deep strike. And I have everything on there. I'm not going to do any deep striking as I want to have much more dependability.
We are now fully deployed. I'm just going to quickly describe the scenario. It's a bit of a custom scenario. Basically there is D3 plus 2 objectives. In this case there's 5. We have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in turn 2, at the end of your turn, your opponent scores a point for every objective they hold. And it's the same rules as regular 40k for holding objectives. And so it's cumulative points. And we'll play random game length, or until we run out of time, whatever happens first. And I've rolled for turn 1. So we are now going to start turn 1 of Tyranids versus Deathwing. And of course, Andrew sees the initiative, so now he has turn 1. Turn 1, Deathwing versus Tyranids. Sorry.
It's interesting, as we approach this game, I've played against Andrew a couple times before, and he's beaten me both times. Or we had a draw one time, but he was able to pretty much almost table me. It was just the objectives that allowed me to draw it. So I was really worried about this game, which is why I designed the army the way I did with Tervagons and less Gene Stealers than last time. So we're going to see how this is going to work out. I'm not going to give away the ending or anything. And at turn 1, you're going to get explained to you in just a moment, but as you can see, he's already starting to deal out the pain.
Alright, Deathwing turn 1. Pretty simple. The Terminator's deep striked right here. Dreadnoughts moved up along with the Land Raider. Land Raider opened fire on the Gene Stealers behind that cover and managed to kill 4 of them, or 3 of them. And then the Dreadnoughts, basically all the Dreadnoughts and the Terminators all fired on this 1 Tervagon and managed to take down 5 of his 6 wounds. So he is very hurt, and hopefully we'll be able to do some birthing before he dies next turn. So now we're moving into Tyranid turn 1.
I find that turn 1 is all about proper positioning. I was hoping my Tervagons would spawn a lot of Termagants to help me with that. Unfortunately, both of them whiffed right from the beginning. One spawned 4, and the other one spawned 9, I believe, but both of them stopped spawning after that, which is way below average. And and so I had to work with less units than what I had anticipated. So I figured that an all-out frontal assault to keep his guys on his side so I could hold on to my objectives as long as I could and build up the points and be able to win that way was probably my best bet. Really in the long run, he'd probably be able to gun down most of my army if I was not careful.
Alright, quick recap of turn 1, as you've already seen a lot of the action, but the Tyranids have now moved forward. The 2 Trigons leading the charge with Hormagaunts scuttling amongst them. Unfortunately, both Tervagons really did not produce very well. This Tervagon produced 4 and will not be producing anymore. And this Tervagon produced 9 and will not be producing anymore. This is well below the average. You should be able to get an average of 20 per Tervagon, I think it is, or it might be 10, one or the other. Either way, it's way below average. Everything else advanced pretty much. The Hormagaunts ran into cover over here. The spawn Termagaunts moving forward. These 4 even taking some pot shots at the Terminators, unfortunately not doing any damage. And so that is pretty much all that happened. Nobody is in charge range. We are now entering turn 2, which is where the points will start to accumulate. So currently I hold 2 objectives. 1, 2, and Andrew holds 2 as well, as there's a troop choice inside that Land Raider. He has 1, 2. But it only matters how many you hold on your opponent's turn. So basically on your turn you have to stop the opponent from getting as many objectives as possible and secure as many as you can at the same time. So we're entering into turn 2, Tyranids versus Deathwing.
So Andrew decided to open up by splitting off the Chaplain out of the Land Raider and unloading his Terminators and his Chaplain in the front at the same time, and then charging with his Chaplain at the Termagants, trying to contest one of the objectives. Now, the Land Raider Crusader, of course, is going to be a problem for the Hormagaunts. And he's moving the Dreadnoughts back, and he's being smart about that because obviously they're not the best thing to deal with Trigons in close combat. So, unfortunately also what you don't see in this is that there is a group of Terminators that tried to come in but mishapped. Lucky for Andrew, he just rolled that they would come back the next turn or be delayed. Because if you lose a group of Terminators when you only have 3 just due to a mishap, obviously that's going to cost you the entire game. When you have so few models, it really is important to keep them all alive. So lots happening here. We'll do a recap in just a moment, but as you can see, the Trigon's getting shot by a lot, and this Chaplain's engaging a bunch of little Termagants who obviously will not do very well against him.
End of Deathwing Turn 2. So first off, he drops off his Terminators and his Chaplain, and the Chaplain breaks off from the group. And the Terminators move and grab both objectives, as you can see right here. And the Chaplain moved up and burnt himself with his plasma pistol. Luckily did not fail his armor save. And then charged into the 5 remaining Gaunts. The Land Raider had shot at them at first, and 4 of them died. Because of the cover, I was able to rescue the rest. And then he charged in and killed 4 more. 2 from his sword and 2 from combat resolution. Over here we had a lot more shooting. Everybody basically targeting the Trigon. They don't seem to worry about the Tervagon anymore now that he can't birth any more Gaunts. And they managed to take down 4 of the 6 wounds from the Trigon. So there was actually a lot of bad rolling that stopped him from dying, because there definitely was enough firepower to take down the Trigon. And I think I got lucky on a couple of my cover saves and armor saves as well. So that definitely helped. So it's the end of turn 2. So I get, or the end of turn 2 for Deathwing, so the Tyranid still have 2 objectives. So that means the score is currently 2-0. Although they definitely haven't had a chance to capture any points yet. So they're currently in control of 3, so I have to run up there and try to contest as many as possible to get as many points for myself.
Really, in order for me to do this, I will have to run up, just like I said. And I'm going to have to charge right up, contest the objectives, and keep mine, and that way on his turn, he'll have a hard time getting to my objectives, which means I just build up those points slowly over time, as I've already started to do. And hopefully by the end of the game, there's no way for him to come back, even if he's managed to kill most of my units. I'm counting on a lot of them dying. I'm counting on just charging in and seeing Hormagaunts and Gene Stealers and Termagants die, but hopefully take down enough. And it's almost a delay tactic I'm going for here. And just trying to keep them busy so that I build up the points that I need. Obviously, I'd play differently if I was going into a kill point or in objectives where you only get the points for the objectives at the end of the game. In that case, it's all about positioning the 4th or 5th turn to make sure you're in the right place at the right time. But here, it's just all about distraction, keeping him occupied, keeping him worried about the frontal attack, so that he does not worry about really taking care of my objectives in the back. And it ended up working pretty well, as both his Terminator squads that came in ended up coming in on his side of the board, as you'll see next turn. It's a little bit of a spoiler there, but you'll see that in the next turn.
End of turn 2. So the Tyranid moved up. These 4 guys took some pot shots at the Terminators, did nothing. And then the Turvagon took some shots and actually killed one of the Terminators. The Trigon moved up and engaged this Dreadnought. The Dreadnought took out 1 more wound from the Trigon. He still has 1 left. And the Trigon immobilized and ripped off every weapon of the Dreadnought. The squad of 20 Hormagaunts charge into that squad of Terminators, and as you can see, there's only 1 left. 8 died from combat resolution. But they managed to take down 3 Terminators, which is good, not quite their points value. And these Hormagaunts decided to charge a Land Raider just to get them the extra speed so they could grab that objective. Finally, this battle was done, and he killed the Gaunt, and I took him down by 2 wounds, so he's down to 1 wound, and the Trigon did not take any damage. So at the end of turn 2, the score is 2 for Tyranids and 1, which is this objective over here, for the Deathwing. So moving into turn 3.
Visit miniwargaming.com to see our videos 1 month early!